Hi everyone, so it's Natalie here, and I'm using a different camera setup today because, just move the Sigilla Medievalia out of the way here. I was just doing my videos about it. This week I'm going to be working with the Marigold Tarot, and I am absolutely in love with this deck. I'm looking around here it is. I was just looking around to see if I could find my iPad, which is in the world's most worn out iPad case ever, because I've had it since 2014 when I got this. Okay, so when you get the PDF, it comes like this. You know, you can turn it horizontally. It's way better to be turned vertically, and of course then you can page through this way to find what you want, or the normal way. And she goes through a beautiful explanation of all of the different symbols and things that are in the deck, and goes through each of the cards in significant detail. There aren't any spreads for this particular deck, which is unfortunate. I kind of would like to have had some, I don't know, just the suggestion of a unique new spread for it, but I don't think it's necessary. So we're going to work with this one today for our general reading. Complements our Sigilla Medievalia beautifully. So here are the backs of the cards. It shuffles beautifully. It's got that linen-y finish, and of course we know from previous videos how beautiful it smells. Ooh, love it. I never get sick of that. It shuffles like a gem. So I'm going to just shuffle it a couple of times here before we choose the significator. Okay, and we're going to look for our Fool card. Naturally, is it at the bottom of the deck or what? Yes. So, of course, the card we want is right at the bottom. Inevitable. So here's our Fool. And our Fool is wonderful. So we'll take our Fool and we'll shuffle them back into the deck. Yeah, it's ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to just shift my little special bench over here and get closer to the camera. So we're going to split our deck into 4. And when this happens, I have a tendency to go to that pile first to see if our significator might be in there. And he's not. That was just a fluke that time. I haven't done this with this particular deck. When I do it with the Marielle, it definitely, it will be in that pile. So let's start at the beginning. So this is the Wands pile. Ooh, we ended up with a flipped card there. That's interesting. Okay, not this pile. Cups. Oh, Lord, I knew it. Of course, like one of the thicker piles, it's going to be in this one. That's okay. It's just how it goes. So yeah, so we're in the cups pile again this week. I think we were in the cups pile last week as well. So we're going to go ahead and collect all of our piles. Put them off to the side here, and then set up and lay out our circle. And the Fool's looking this way, counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, so I'm going to go anti-clockwise with him. What's going to happen? Okay. I'm going to move you guys right up. Okay, so we're going to start with our Fool. Here he is. And we're going to start counting anti-clockwise. So the Fool is worth 3. So we start 1, 2, 3. Our first is the 7 of Swords. Tuck our Fool back in and write it down. 7 of Swords. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have the Magician. So I do have this little cheat sheet here that I carry in my tarot bag just in case, right? So it's helpful just in case because occasionally I do forget. And I just, for the Zodiac, I wrote all remaining majors. The ones that confuse me occasionally are just the planetary ones. The Zodiac ones seem obvious to me, I guess, for some reason. Usually the ones that I will get stuck on are going to be these, the planetary ones. So the Magician is a planetary card and is therefore worth 9. 9 points. We count to 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We get a Wands. It looks like 2 of Wands. The dill from the 2 of Wands. Yeah. So there's 2 of Wands. Or that's maybe not. I can't remember what that is. It's a plant. 2 of Wands. Okay. So 1, 2. We have the 4 of Rings. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We get the 8 of Rings. Okay, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gives us the Queen of, oh no, the Empress. The Empress. Okay, and then the Empress, I believe, is, yeah, she is planetary as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Near miss. Queen of Cups. Okay. Queen of Cups is going to be worth 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 gives us the Page of Wands. We already got 8 cards. The pages are worth 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So close. We got the Devil. So we're up to 9 cards here. 1, 2. So the Devil's planetary. Yeah, Devil is 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the Devil is where we end everything for the week. All right, so we have 9 cards. And then I think I will move this around so that we can see all of the cards laid out, you know, the way I do here. And I'll move the camera over like to this side, you know, the flower side of the desk, so that we can look onto them that way. Okay, so we're back, and I'm really aware that this is still most imperfect for being able to view all of the cards. And, you know, this is an evolving process, so I'm doing the best I can. It definitely helps to just kind of overlap them a little bit for this next part where we're just kind of looking at the overall patterns of the cards to see what's here. So something that really stands out to me right away in looking at the cards all together. We have 9 all together, and this 8 of rings here at the top, sort of highlighting the key in some ways to finding balance in the spread. And so I should have said this right at the beginning when our card came up, when our significator came up in the cups pile, that the solutions to our problems this week are going to come through feeling. And that was also the case last week. So whatever we're seeing and however we approach things this week, if we're coming back in touch with our feelings and emotions and guiding ourselves through the heart, we're going to have a better chance of using these energies to create opens the possibility for greater healing and greater compassion. So that said, the other thing that really stands out to me here is this 4 of rings. We're sort of also going in 1, 2, 3, 4, top of the chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, and finish. And we have the devil here, and we have the 4 of rings. So, whatever else is going on this week, there's a definite sense of, what's mine is mine. I want my stuff. A little bit of greed, maybe a little bit of self-centeredness that's not helpful. And that's not an unusual issue when you're looking at a full moon in Aries, right? We're surrendering something to the divine at the time of a full moon. This full moon in Aries, oops, I've got a new moon in Aries. I need a full moon in Aries. So full moon in Aries, a fiery climax approaches, right? So something is coming to a head here, we're right around the time of this 4 of rings. So I think we're looking at our timing being Sunday. So this gives us a sense of like where we are within the spread and within our week. So the 7 of Swords is talking to us about the release of ideas. It could be talking to us about releasing something that's poisonous. I don't recall what this plant is. I had it pulled up a minute ago. Okay, the plant is Nerium oleander. And Amrit Brar points out that while it's a really beautiful plant, it's also really poisonous. So it may be that it's time for us to cut off and release the things that we're thinking or doing that poison us or that poison other people, whether it's a thought. Our thoughts and our feelings can be extremely toxic and extremely destructive to ourselves and others. So what maybe is it that we need to release as this full moon is coming up? And then we move immediately from there to the Magician. And the Magician in this card is just wonderful. Again, I don't remember exactly what these plants are that are here. They're really stunning. They're very, very healing and magical and beautiful. But the Magician ultimately is telling us, yeah, of course you have the power. You have the power to release whatever you need to change your thoughts, to change the way that you view things, the way that you're taking in the world around you, which I think is a very important thing to remember, that we are fully empowered. So moving forward, we have here the 2 of Wands, and these are flowering dill. And the 2 of Wands, we have possibilities, and those possibilities have an infinite number of branches and ways of going. So how do we want to use our personal power, moving forward? If you are hoping to remove something or to let go of something, it's really important to think, what is it that I want to replace it with? Okay. So as we go into the full moon, what is the path we want to take? What are we releasing? And what are we going to try and bring more of as we go into that full moon? But around the time of the full moon, however, we're looking at this full moon in Aries, and we've got this 4 of rings. These are the suit of rings are the only fleshy cards in the entire deck. So the rest is skeletons, knives, teeth, etc., plants. But the suit of rings or pentacles is different. and it brings us back down to earth. So as we're moving into this new moon in Aries, what do we want to let go of? What do we want to manifest? You know, the hands are almost moving in a way that tells us that we can manifest whatever it is that we desire, and we can go in whatever direction we want. The key is going to be to see clearly. We've got this eyeball here. So can we see clearly the path that we want to take? And then, you know, can we take decisive action? Then as we are still in that kind of full moon space and moving on into the rest of the week, we have this beautiful Eight of Rings. So, you know, that's an interesting choice for an Eight of Pentacles, because theoretically this deck follows the RWS system, which is interesting because the way that she's drawn a lot of these pictures doesn't tell me that this is exactly in harmony, and yet that's exactly what she's written. You know, a lot of them are the very traditional meanings. What I'm also seeing here is that there's a promise, right? There's also hope. So as we've let go of stuff here at the full moon, and surrendered, let go of whatever we need to in order to move forward, you know, with clear vision and intention. This Eight of Rings is also reminding us that we need to work hard if we want to get what we intend to manifest, okay? And manifesting things is all about feeling as well, right? If we can feel it, if we can know it deeply in our bodies, we have the ability to manifest it, whatever it is. So moving forward into the week, as you continue to manifest, hold that vision, you know, make that promise to yourself. And I know that like crossed fingers aren't always about promises. Sometimes they're just about hoping and holding on to hope. But, you know, the two fingers together, united, again, we see that here, right? We see the two here, this union of vision and will to move things forward or to be decisive. You know, if we bring those two things together and hold them as our focus, along with the hard work, we have the ability to bring it forward. Okay, so the Empress is very, very nice if you're manifesting. She's obviously, you know, there to tell us, like, this may be a very quick sort of circumstance. This may be very, very quick. So we may go from, you know, having these ideas clearly manifesting to, oh, look, here it is. We're going to give birth to something very soon, and it's going to come forward. So, you know, we may find that this is a really fertile time moving forward this week for bringing things into being, you know, for creating what we really, really want. She's also looking to this Queen of Cups, right? They're looking towards each other. So as you do that, I feel that the Queen of Cups is really reminding us to act with compassionate wisdom, right? So the lotus that's growing out of her head is something that we would normally associate with the heart, right? That the lotus arises in the heart. That it's rising in the head, for me personally, speaks of compassionate wisdom. So as we are manifesting, to remember the importance deeply of compassionate wisdom, regard for others, regard and responsibility for what we manifest and the way that it affects the people around us, and taking care, especially taking care. It may also be a reminder that, you know, as this is also, you know, a lot of busyness, right? This is a lot of activity. The Seven of Swords is definitely a busy mind that's occupied with a lot of stuff, maybe to the point of being poisonous. You know, the Magician is working hard at bringing things into being, may find themselves with really overwhelmed with choices and possibilities. That Four of Rings may hold the possibility there of needing to hold on to something very concretely, but then being deceived by it. So it may not be exactly what it appears. This is another possibility, right? The Eight of Rings, Then could be broken promises, right? With the fingers crossed. It could be further broken promises, or it could be a dive into further busyness, further work, greater emphasis on the doing, right? Instead of the being. Like, I need more, I need to do more, I got to work harder. But then by the time we get to the Empress, and the Queen of Cups, both of them are, these are not women who rush, right? Said the woman rushing to get through the reading. Because it just gives so much energy, right? It's very bubbly. But, these are not women who rush. These are women who are very, earthy, relaxed. She's calm. She's got her book. She's got her wisdom, of sorts here already. And the Queen of Cups is definitely not someone who rushes. So this may also be a reminder that if you're going to use this full moon, to great effect, to its best effect, we may need to pause, we may need to stop and think and come back to a place of self-compassion and self-care as well, in order to move things forward. In fact, I definitely feel that that's the case, because taking time to be still, taking time to do things that nourish and nurture us, we underestimate the value that holds. And the full moon is a really tough time sometimes. So it could also be, that during this moment of full moon, when, the emphasis is on self, it could very well be that the emphasis also needs to be on self-compassion. And we haven't pulled an Amenti Oracle card yet, but I imagine that may be reflected somehow in the coming week. We then move toward the Page of Wands. So fresh idea, fresh inspiration, fresh movement, new ideas. There may also be new things that are about to come into being as a result. But there's something that strikes me is that about this particular Page of Wands, if we're just coming from a point, sort of towards the middle of next week, where taking some time to reflect and be still is necessary. That stillness and reflection then offers us new inspiration. Okay, it brings us fresh inspiration, fresh ideas, and a new outlook on the world. The key to all of this is going to be remembering with this Devil here not to go back to the older tendencies. So just about the time we come out of, a more open-minded, compassionate space, right? And a new idea strikes us. What's the next thing that happens? We get somebody that comes in and wants to tell us logically that what we want to do doesn't work. They want to choke the inspiration out of us with their ideas. They want to seduce us into thinking a different way. They may, we may also be self-sabotaging. I don't think I could really ever make that or do that or be that. So just being aware as we move towards the end of the week that, just as soon as things become a little bit more grounded and fresh, that, that doubt and suspicion and need to hold on to things, old ways of doing things, old ways of seeing things may creep back in on us. It could also be that it's scary to face doing something new, right? It's always scary to face something new. So there may be a tendency to want to numb the self through use of, alcohol, drugs, etc., towards the end of the week, if that's a tendency for you. Or shopaholic, being a shopaholic. Could be Reese's peanut butter pumpkins, because this is that time of year. Yes, I am speaking from experience. That is my vice. It could easily be any of those things, right? So just being aware that that's a possibility. So that said, I think we're ready for the Amenti Oracle card. Okay, so our Amenti Oracle card for the week is I give offerings that are genuine. So this is an interesting one to have come up along with the Devil card this week, and along with all of this stuff that's about manifesting, especially where we see like the Seven of Swords, and several of these other cards. So I'll just state where I'm coming from with that. So in the book, which I've got here, Jennifer Sodini says, the core of Buddhist philosophy stems from an understanding that life is riddled with suffering, and it's our attachment to suffering that lends our life experiences more suffering. So in finding mental, emotional, and spiritual liberation from suffering, we attain nirvana, the transcendental state, where we are free from the fetters of materialism, detached from the effects of karma, and liberated from the cycle of death and rebirth. So she says further, in exploring the ideal of giving offerings that are genuine from a space of non-attachment with the living philosophy of a light heart, in harmony with authenticity beyond any dogmatic system, we must be reminded of the core meaning of what it is to offer in the first place. Modern society has conditioned us to believe that we must give to receive, and in order to receive, we must give. It's a platitude that inadvertently feeds the idea of attachment, because if we give so much and feel as though we're not receiving an equal echo back, it can cause us to experience suffering of expectations. This really, to me, matches this beautifully. I think this one's come up before in one of the general readings in past, or in a reading somewhere that I've done online, because this may be what the toxic Seven of Swords thought really is, or the belief pattern that we could be letting go of. That it's, just as we give offerings that are genuine, okay, it's also possible to be worthy of receiving things without there necessarily needing to be anything attached to it, right? So maybe spending some time looking this week, in the next day or so, at what are the belief patterns that you have, or that any of us have, around this idea of giving and receiving. Again, then remembering that the magician is about our ability, to be the magician in our lives, to manifest whatever we want, and also to be able to trust that whatever it is that we're bringing in, if we're giving from that space of not expecting anything in return and simply trusting that the right thing will come back, it's a beautiful place to be, right? That's a beautiful, beautiful place to begin to manifest from, is just knowing that if it's really hard, this is not easy stuff. If we can trust that coming to the table to take ownership of our lives requires us simply to be in charge of our own thoughts, our own feelings, and our own desires and wishes, and then to take actions that are in harmony with that without attachment, we're doing really, really well, right? So moving forward, we have options of how that will take place, about how we might want to go and what the ways in which we might want to journey forward. We then have to begin looking at, again, we've got some giving and receiving happening here in this Four of Rings, right? Whether intended or not. But again, as we go to this new moon, this full moon, and we're surrendering, we're giving an offering that's genuine. So we may want to consider, letting go of whatever it is that doesn't serve us, in our belief system, in our lives, in our world, and trusting that it's going to be okay. But if we let it go without any attachment and with the wisdom that it's just in our best interest, nothing can possibly go wrong. That's really the best. It's the greatest energy from which we operate. Okay, so then continuing our hard work as we move forward and doing so from a place where we are completely in harmony with our intention, and in harmony with our integrity, right? What is it that informs our integrity? Stay in harmony with that. Give yourself, time and space to become fully fertile with it. That may include the exercising of self-compassion and compassionate wisdom, which does require some space and time. And as that happens, it always leads to fresh inspiration, new ideas, and a way to move forward. And if we can continue that move forward, remembering, okay, that attachment is really what causes us our suffering, and be open to whatever it is that arises and whatever comes forward to us, we're going to be in good shape. We're going to be in really good shape. So remember not to be too attached. And yeah, I'm going to say that is the completion of our reading for the week. And I appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time. Bye.